We ready? Oh, you ready? All right. So, good afternoon. It is now 5 p.m. I call this FedVac meeting to order. For the record, my name is Huang Tran, chair of the committee. On my left is committee member Jack Dovey, council president Linda Kochma, council member Jack Walsh. On my right, another committee member, Paul McDaniel, and council member Susan Honda. Welcome, everybody. Do we have any public comments?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. Okay, very good. We're moving on to committee business. The first item is approval of summary minutes for June 2025.
I'll make the motion to approve minutes from June 2025.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. We now moving on to item B, King County Regional Automated Fingerprint Identification System, AFIS, Interagency Connection Agreement. Commander?
Good evening, committee and council members. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Michael Coffey. I'm one of the commanders with the police department. I'm here tonight to present the AFIS LiveScan Interlocal Agreement. The Federal Way Police Department is proud to maintain a long-standing and highly valued partnership with King County's Automated Fingerprint Identification System program, commonly known as AFIS. This collaboration is vital in supporting law enforcement, not just in Federal Way, but across all of King County. One of the most critical services that they provide is the use of a LiveScan device, which is a computer-based system that captures fingerprint data electronically. This modern approach is essential to police operations, aiding in accurate identification of individuals and linking them to relevant criminal history records. For over 2 decades, our department has used an AFIS LiveScan machine for this process. Compared to the traditional ink and paper method, this process enhances the precision of the capture of the fingerprints, allows for faster identification of unknown individuals, and improves our overall efficiency with regards to collecting fingerprints. The continued use of this equipment is essential to our police operations as we continue. It will help with the integrity and effectiveness of this process. As such, I would request this committee and the council's support in approving the interlocal agreement to utilize this LiveScan technology moving forward. Importantly, as detailed in the staff report, there's no financial obligation to the city for participation in this program. This is a program that AFIS offers and is supported through a tax-funded levy. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer those.
Thank you. Paul?
Yeah, the only question I have is, without this program, what would be our process to get that kind of information then?
I would assume we would revert back to an ink and paper system. There's no other vendor or capability that we have. This data that is recovered is very sensitive in nature, and so it follows FBI and federal protocols along with state protocols for protection of those, and AFIS already follows those CJIS requirements as outlined. So the integrity of those records would be vital to maintain. To go back to an ink and paper system does not allow for the integrity of those to make sure that they're accurate. We'd have to send those off, and it would be a long process. We use this equipment also to identify individuals who maybe have provided false information or not provided information, and that's in real time because it's electronically. We wouldn't have that capability moving forward. So it would put us back significantly not to continue with this program.
Is that the same kind of device that's used for the CPLs when they do the fingerprinting downstairs?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and do we have, are they only at the police station or are they actually mobile units?
We have one AFIS machine at the police station. The mall substation has one as well, and then that one for the public for CPL fingerprint collection.
Okay, hey, thank you.
Is this system evolving to where you can actually do it on your cell phone or tablet or other ways, so it's more, in more locations?
It has not gotten to that level yet. There's a component with the LiveScan machine that not only captures traditional 10 print, but also has the capability to capture a palm print over a rolling wheel. And so those more advanced techniques really are beneficial for keeping them in place. One of the requirements in the contract is also to maintain security inside of a secure location because of the potential for that protected information. So that is an agreement that we make. There is a mobile application that they have that's separate to this that allows us to do some identification in the field, but nothing that we would capture fingerprints for criminal type bookings and such.
Thank you.
I see no further questions. May I have motion, please?
Chair, I noticed that the agenda bill has the wrong date on it. So the August meeting is the August 12th, not the August 5th. So if we could make a note of that for all the motions tonight.
Thank you for that.
What's the correct date? We're not going to have the meeting on the 5th, it's on the 12th.
Yeah. I can make a motion. I move to forward the proposed connection agreement to the August 12th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passes 3-0. Thank you, Commander.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are moving on to item C, 2025-2026 Port of Seattle Economic Development Grant. Director Neal, welcome.
Thank you. Well, good evening, council. I have two items before you tonight. This is the first of them. So this is the Port of Seattle Economic Development Grant Program. The policy question this evening is whether the city council should authorize staff to apply for the 2025 to 2026 Port of Seattle Partnership Program Grant. Here's a brief overview of the grant program. So the Port of Seattle Economic Development Partnership Program is a cooperative economic development grant program that is designed to help support local and regional economic development initiatives across King County. This is a non-competitive grant, so each jurisdiction is allocated a certain amount of money based on the size of the jurisdiction. This year, they decided to make it a 2-year grant cycle instead of a 1-year grant cycle. So Federal Way is eligible for $120,000 in this grant cycle, which is $60,000 per year each for 2025 and 2026. 50% of match is required, and that can be made up of both dollars and in-kind resources. Up to 25% of the total grant award can be in in-kind resources. So the first project that we're proposing as part of this grant is the Federal Way Public Market Business Plan and Marketing Outreach. The request is for funds to help draft a business plan to establish a permanent public market and help with marketing and outreach to the community as part of that effort. $51,000 would be the grant request from the Port of Seattle, with a $26,000 match from the city, which would be in the form of an LTAC Tourism Enhancement Grant, which is the next item that we'll be reviewing. So the total funding for this project would be $77,000. The second project is a 3-day-long free community festival that would be tied to FIFA World Cup. We're tentatively looking at June 19th to 21st. And it would include a number of different things happening with an activation at the Performing Arts Center, both inside the center and outside on the grounds around it. It would be watch parties for the different matches that are being played, food trucks, multicultural entertainment, most likely a stage outside, and other family-friendly activities. The grant request for this would help cover a portion of this. It is possible, once we find out how much the watch party viewing rights might be, that there might be some additional dollars that we need. This would be a $69,000 grant request from the Port of Seattle. There would be a $9,000 monetary match from the city, which would most likely come from the Economic Development Professional Services Fund, and a $25,000 in-kind match from the city. So that would be staff hours and event resources, for staffing during the event, and rental of some of the city-owned resources, such as microphone equipment and that type of thing. That would be a total of $103,000 in funding. So these are the options to consider. The first is to forward the proposed application to the August 12th consent agenda for approval for City Council. Option 2 is to not forward it and provide staff different direction. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Paul, and then Jack.
Give Jack a first option.
Oh, Paul, why don't you go first?
What's that? You want to go first? or-
No, you can, you might answer some of my questions for me.
Okay. Could you go back one slide where you're talking about the World Cup deal? What does the $69,000 pay for?
So that would be a combination of getting the viewing rights to play the different matches during that.
What do they charge?
They have not shared that yet. We know what the Club World Cup matches cost this year, but we're expecting that the World Cup matches next year will cost more. Like a lot of the other details, those have yet to be released. My guess is that we will probably find out in the December timeframe, which is when a lot of the other information will be released.
What was the cost of the one we know?
So the Club World Cup, to play the matches that were only played in Seattle, to get watching rights for those, I believe there was a special that was like $15,000 or $20,000. If you wanted to play all of the matches, it was more than that. And that number was not released. So,
So it was 15K to some number we don't know to show soccer matches in Seattle.
correct.
Okay, did nobody in the South End showed them, or did anybody participate in that?
The Club World Cup, the ones I'm aware of who showed it, a number of the casinos did around here. So a lot of the tribal-owned properties did purchase the watch rights to those this year and play them because they were advertising those.
Okay.
I'm not aware of many other organizations that did.
Okay, and then, so following up, because there's
Yep.
no detail other than 69,000.
Yep.
Besides getting the rights to show them, what else does it go towards?
So the rest of that will be everything from marketing efforts to share it with the community. It will be a stage rental. It will be booking acts for the stage. So the plan is that there would be a stage out in the parking lot of the PAC that would have all sorts of different bookings there. So our normal booker would work with us on that. The goal would be to get some acts that maybe were aligned with some of the countries that are playing in those matches. There would also be food trucks and probably some vendors along with it. And so there's organization of those types of things and things like power that need to be supplied to them as well. Additionally, we've been talking about some other types of things like bringing in some turf and setting up some, sort of mini matches outside. There's been a discussion about like a video game tournament, like a FIFA soccer video game tournament. So all of those are still in production, but the intention is that that money would help to support all of those efforts.
And then are we going to show these matches inside the PAC?
Correct. So
are
the
we-
plan,
Are we selling the seats or giving away free, or?
the plan was to make this a free public event, and so we would be giving it away. There would probably be food and alcoholic beverages that would be for sale inside the PAC. And they're looking at maybe doing an expansion of that alcohol area out onto the patio space. So there might be a beer garden outside as well. The intention was that sort of whichever the primary game is, the one that might be the more popular, because there are often two matches playing at the same time, would be played inside. And that outside, like in the big auditorium area, out in the main lobby area, they would probably play the other game and then have on silent the main game as well, so that you can track it. And then potentially have in the beer garden area outdoors, if that comes to fruition, both of those on the monitor there, that you could watch both games.
And then, because we have, 700 seats, and then something outside, this will be available to 1,400 people in Federal Way? Is that kind of how?
Well, for the interior.
Rotating games, I mean, there's
Yeah.
multiple,
Correct, yeah, so for the interior of the PAC space, yeah, it's about 700 in the auditorium, about 300 in the sort of outside area, and then the goal would be that there would be activation outside so that you could hold quite a few more, probably, 2,000 at a time. But yes, that it would be rotating around and it would be open. There's been discussion, once we know what time of day the matches will all be played, that the PAC was also talking about doing like a family-friendly movie in the evening or that type of thing as well. And so it would be a combination of different events that would sort of program it Friday, Saturday, Sunday throughout that weekend.
And who gets the revenue?
I'm not sure there will be a whole lot of
Well,
revenue.
I mean, if you're gonna have a beer garden, there's gonna
Yeah.
be revenue. If you're gonna have food trucks, there's gonna be revenue.
Sure.
I mean, somebody's making money. I'm just curious who.
Well, that's something we're going to have to figure out.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but
Sure.
it's pretty, I don't see there's a lot of questions in my mind. If I was
Yep.
spending $69,000, well, actually $103,000, and I don't know who's putting it on, how much I'm gonna make, and who's gonna show up, and why am I doing it?
Yeah, well, this is, because of the deadline for this port grant,
Yeah.
it is a little bit of conjecture at this point. We've just pulled together a staff committee. We had the first meeting to sort of hammer out the big details, but we'll be meeting every couple of weeks, and we'll be pulling that all together. So the
and-
PAC will be taking the lead on a lot of the budgeting and finance portion of it, and what that will really look like. And we definitely will bring back to you at some point a much more drilled down budget
Yeah.
as we finalize all of the details.
And then my last question, sorry, I don't.
Sure, no, go ahead.
We approve this, and it goes to the council, and it gets approved, and we don't like where it's going, and we say, hey, this is just not a great idea. I mean, it's a great idea, but it's more work than it's worth. Can we kill it and not take the money?
Sure, yeah. So the way that this grant works with the port, it's a reimbursement-based grant. Certainly, there are other municipalities that have applied for funds and then decided to shift gears. My understanding is also that if we reached a point where we decided that what we had applied for is no longer what we want to do, that there is a way to do an adjustment with the port that would need to go through their process, but that we could change what it is. So there's sort of this initial deadline to apply for the grant, but there is some flexibility with the understanding that this is for a 1.5 year period and that things might change in that time.
And I have one more question. So we vote on this, the staff is getting together, you're talking about, does that count as in-kind, the planning, and are we chunking off the 25,000 on day one when we have our
Yeah.
first meeting?
From the moment that the contract gets finalized with the port, we will be tracking hours, and so anything that goes into staff time for the planning of it, for marketing efforts that are designed in-house and social media time, any of that, yeah, all would get tracked and would get count towards that in-kind.
And starting retro when we say go, or after we get the grant? So like right now, I mean, if
Yeah.
we say this and you get together with the 4 people here on the meeting on staff, and you all meet for 5 hours.
Right.
That costs us everybody's salary times 5 hours. Do we get that back? Is that part of the 25,000?
Not retroactively before the contract is signed with the Port of Seattle.
Okay.
So it's once we apply and the contractual part is completed, which would probably be, they said, about 15 days after the grant deadline.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for answering some of my questions for me. So one of my questions, I think I got a partial understanding of it. So the $25,000 in kind is going to be some staff time. Is the PAC part of the in-kind donation?
Yes.
Or how does the PAC fit into this then?
Yeah, so that was in discussions with both the Parks Department and PAC, that they felt pretty confident that they could do a combination of time for PAC staff and for park staff for that in-kind donation. It would also be things like Director Hutton had suggested, some of the different things that the city owns, that we could put a value on that for using it for this event. And so that might be, a stage or other types of equipment, that would also be an in-kind donation. So that would be the event resource portion of it.
Gotcha. Will, of the $69,000, will any of that be used to rent out the PAC?
That has been discussed, and I think that will be part of what we come back to council with later, is whether we want to make the PAC whole in this, or whether we want the PAC to donate as well as part of this event. And so that'll be a discussion point.
Okay, and I'd be curious to know if this fits into one of the pillars of requirements that they have to, if they do offer this as one of the pillars, so. that's one
That was part of their discussion, which is that there are the certain number of times that they do community events. And so that was where they were thinking, oh, maybe as like a community movie night, that maybe we incorporate that in and play some movies and in times when there aren't matches happening.
Gotcha. And then, do we have an estimate of how many days this would be going on for?
So this would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and so we're tentatively looking at June 19th, 20th, and 21st. So June 19th is the second match that is being played in Seattle, and it's the Team USA game. And so we thought that that would probably be a pretty big draw, and one that might be kind of fun to start sort of the community event based off of, is that Team USA game that's being played here in Seattle, because there probably will be a lot of energy here that day and that weekend. And then there are a number of other matches that will be happening. We don't know most of who is playing yet in the other matches, but as a host nation, we have that game, the 19th, that Team USA will be playing.
Gotcha. And do we know if there's any conflicts already with the PAC being scheduled out for this time frame?
There is not. So the PAC has tentatively blocked this off for this event already.
Okay. Then under the PAC that we got, it has collaboration with partners, and you guys mentioned some partners. It says you guys plan to work with the public market, the farmers market, the chamber, the Diversity Commission, Arts Commission, Arts Foundation, Black Collective. How would these guys integrate in with this activity?
Sure. So all of the ones listed are a combination of the two different projects. So I'm not sure that we would necessarily collaborate with the public market. We probably would collaborate with the farmers market, because the intention might be that the farmers market would be moved over to the new festival street, and that would be happening on that Saturday. So there probably would be collaboration there. The Diversity Commission and the Black Collective, since the first day of this would be on June 19th, we would like to meet with them and discuss whether there is a Juneteenth element that might want to be incorporated in during that day, and see if there's interest in either of those two groups participating in that way. And then the Diversity Commission in general, as we start looking at what other countries are going to be playing in those matches that weekend, and whether there is specialty programming or food or those types of things that we want to do to highlight some of those other countries.
Okay. I also thought SCORE was an interesting one to have a partnership with on there too. So skipping from that one, I'm going to switch over to the public market now. The public market, it looks like they've got a port request for $51,000 and a city monetary match of $26,000. And I know that 26 is going to be the next subject of conversation with the
Correct.
LTAC. My concern is if they do not meet the requirements for LTAC, or it does not go through, is the economic development able to cover that 26 with the LTAC money they received recently for doing marketing and stuff like that?
Sure. So your question is, if LTAC doesn't go through, could my department otherwise find funds for this? I think we could. As we went over right after I started here, there were a number of projects that were originally funded through ARPA that have never been started. Some of them are around different types of, business outreach and those types of efforts that I think when I've added it up, it's about $250,000 worth of funds for projects that we're probably going to be redirecting in other areas. We could certainly, if the LTAC grant did not go through, if the TEG grant did not go through, could find those dollars someplace else.
Okay. And one of the LTACs that did go through was $250 for economic development, and it was for visitor enhancement and destination promotion plans. Would that one be able to be used for this, or would it have to be maybe one of the ARPA funds that we have still remaining?
That's a good question. I think for 2025, the way that it was written, there were specific programs that went through for this year. There's a contract that's being finalized right now for the majority of that amount. There's about $31,000 left of that $250 for this year. I would have to look into that. Certainly for next year, there was kind of an earmark for next year for another $250,000 to continue that effort. We could certainly look at it as part of that.
All right, appreciate it, thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. So Paul asked this question about the PAC, then it's not going to be available for rental during very busy, potentially busy summer weekend.
Correct.
So my next question, and it's just a question. I was watching the Cle Elum City Council meeting recently, as you were talking about their concerns.
The which one?
Cle Elum.
Cle Elum, okay.
And they were talking about the World Cup and how they're expecting their town to be overrun with people. And I've listened to other council members from other cities, and we're all expecting our towns to be overrun with these folks. What is going to draw people to Federal Way and not to these other towns that we're all probably trying to do the very same thing?
Sure.
And we put this kind of effort and money into something like this. What is going to bring people here? And I'm, potentially it's light rail, but who knows, maybe people won't be using light rail. I mean, they're not going to use it to get to Cle Elum and those
Right.
places. So what's going to bring people to Federal Way? How can we get them here?
Sure. So I think, the quickest answer is the light rail, that we're going to be the southern gateway to the light rail line. And because we do have a number of hotels that are in easy walking distance to the light rail, I do think, the estimates of how many people are going to come are in the millions of people who are going to be coming in for these different matches. Certainly, there are not enough hotel rooms in Seattle proper, and so you are going to see that spill over. So I think that's going to be the first thing, is that we are probably going to get quite a few people who are here to watch the matches or to engage in festivities in Seattle who are choosing to stay in Federal Way because of the light rail connection and the fact that you can jump on transit. Additionally, as you're sort of looking at the region, I think you're also just going to see people from further south, from further east and west, who are probably going to come to this point to jump on the light rail, because I think that traffic is going to be horrendous. There's been a lot of discussion about the fact that already most of the, bus rental services and that type of thing are booked up, that, you only have so many resources for transportation. And so I think the light rail is going to be key in that effort. I think, the other part of this is that this event with FIFA World Cup, it is somewhat meant for visitors, but it's equally meant for our community, and kind of providing another pathway, because the reality is that people who are flying here from other places are probably going to want to participate in much larger events, and we certainly are going to see some of that in them staying here, shopping here, dining here. And so we're working with the chamber and with others on creating some of those different pathways to point people to the right direction and getting our businesses ready for that. But part of the intention with this and the port money is that this also becomes more of a community festival for our community.
My next question, takes into the consideration of the property next to the PAC. So the company that we have a deal with to build out that property has until January of 2027 to start building, is my understanding. And this is June of 26. So let's say that they get investors and they start their project during this time. Where are we going to put people to park? Because we've talked about using that site as parking.
Sure. So a couple of days ago, we met with a representative for the Home and Home property that is across the street, adjacent there, and asked them if we could use that for parking. We also asked them if we could use it for the community diversity celebration that's happening, and they've given their approval for that. So that will be one of the parking locations.
Are they charging us?
No.
Oh, that's nice.
So, as you might know, that property there is mostly vacant at the moment. So they have plenty of parking for the couple of small tenants that they have.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Sure.
Council President?
Well, thank you very much. Myself and several of my colleagues have been to different events, two for sure, one at the Chamber, that talked about having visual events in your community for the World Cup. And I see this really as a way for it's amazing how many people in our community are into soccer. It's a big deal. But because if people can't get from other countries, can't find parking in Seattle, neither can we. So it's going to be nice to have something, and I really see it here that they can go through, and I really see it as you said, a community building event. And I'm really glad we picked up on this because that was suggested, and so I'm glad we're moving forward on it. And there's very little amount out of our pocket if we have to, the $34,000 or whatever in case.
Right.
Yeah, so thank you very much for doing that.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, a couple other follow-up questions. Can you remind me how many hotel rooms we have in downtown Federal Way? Is it like
Let's see,
600?
just over 700, I believe.
700?
I think it's 765 since we lost the 3 to other
Okay,
issues.
so we're talking less than 2,000 people showing up to Federal Way over those 3 days, probably. I mean, because there's only so many rooms unless Airbnb or VBRO.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
to put things in perspective, there's only 43,000 hotel rooms in King County.
Yeah, I know, that's
So
so,
they're going to be Airbnbs
yeah, but we know people are going to take every hotel room in
and
this
every
area.
Airbnb as well.
Yep.
And then, so, having this is good for our citizens, because at least another 700 can show up and see something if we want to. Okay. My question has to do more about LTAC money. And we've been spending it like, you know, there's no end to it, and we all know there is. You know, and we haven't spent, we put $250,000 into it, we haven't spent it all, we're gonna re-spend it a second time on, you know, what we're doing right now, probably. Well, at what point are you gonna say, hey, quit spending like you're a bunch of guys just got off the boat and landed in some city and you're going down to the
Yeah.
restaurants?
Well, since I started here, we've had 2 LTAC committee meetings.
Yeah.
At the first one, we started having that discussion.
Yeah.
And we continued it at the second one, and we are planning to do a retreat. I don't know if that's going to be during our September meeting, and we're going to elongate that, or it might be in October. But I think it is a conversation that the LTAC committee is starting to have. This is a relatively new committee for the most part. Most of the committee members are newer. And I think in their exuberance to fund everything, we've started talking about the fact that probably there needs to be some strategy, and that, you know, if you have about $300,000 a year coming in LTAC funds, that, you know, it is not sustainable if we spend $650,000 a year
Right.
in LTAC funds, that there is, you know, just over $2 million right now in reserves, and that probably using those reserve funds should be used for bigger, larger projects, perhaps more of a capital type expense that are visitor facing. And so that is a discussion that we are having. They have, as you'll see when we get to the LTAC portion of this, they have decided they are not going to come back to council for another budget amendment request to add any more dollars for this year. So their recommendation coming out of the LTAC committee was actually to split the $26,000 between the remainder that's available this year, and then the rest of it putting into next year's LTAC budget. But I definitely think that that will be part of what comes out of the September meeting and the retreat, is kind of creating more of a budget for how much is the goal to spend each year, and also figuring out a strategy for prioritization.
But isn't it, as I remember, the $2 million is kind of a bogus number. It's $2 million, but that was put into it over years ago when we didn't spend it on turf fields and different things like that, and it went into LTAC, right? Because we're only bringing in $300,000 a year. We haven't had a surplus of $2 million. It was,
$2 million is rounding. It's $1
Is that the
million.
surplus of the
It's
300,000?
$1,970,000 is the current balance, if you
No.
take away all the current obligations.
no, I got that, but if you think about it, we get 300,000 in, we should spend 300,000, and we didn't go 6 years and not spend any money. So we somebody, I don't think I did, but some council members at one time front-loaded that money and put it in there. So didn't all come from hotel people in rooms, because we would have spent it all.
It's all lodging tax, it's all restricted revenue, and it comes from underspending and then cautious revenue budgeting that came in over budget, so it's been
Okay.
squirreled away since, taken about 10 years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when you look at the last number of years, there were a number of years where, you know, it was a very small amount of money, you know, $25,000, $15,000 that was spent some years in LTAC.
Probably.
So there definitely was a time when it was much more conservative, or we weren't getting many applications.
Maybe that was because of COVID.
Maybe.
Okay, got it, thank you.
Mr. Wash?
Yeah, a couple of questions and a comment. One is with the LTAC, What is is it based on a percentage of the hotel
It is,
price?
it's a
or is it
1%.
so much per room? 1%?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So excellent. So the FIFA should help with the LTAC a bit, too.
It should. I
Yeah,
mean, because FIFA is going to be about 3 weeks long for the matches that are being played here.
And I would
so
imagine that the hotel rates will be skyrocketing.
Yes, I
time
would
as
imagine
well.
that surge pricing is going to be in order.
Okay.
It's been interesting to hear sort of the trends so far. Like, there already have been a number of hotel rooms in the Seattle area that have been booked during the FIFA time period, and they said about a quarter of them right now, the highest percentage are people coming from Japan. And so it'll be interesting to see as the other countries get announced, where people are coming from. But I think that some people are using it as an opportunity to come do a big trip here and catch a match at the World Cup, hopefully.
Okay, yeah, I know people are willing to spend a lot on World Cup.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that, just to comment, I'm glad that we are having this event that's a lot for the local population. I mean, it just with my own family, every World Cup that comes around, I mean, it's not just USA, but it's Holland, and it's Argentina and Mexico and Ecuador. I mean, we have ties to those other countries as well, and there can get some pretty interesting dynamics within the family when World Cup comes around. And I don't think that we're alone. I think that there's a lot
Yep.
in the community that will be very involved and excited to have something local here.
Susan?
Thank you. So we have an organization in Federal Way called the Desna Cup, and they are an organization that came out of Russia probably 12, 15 years ago, and started a soccer tournament here in Federal Way because soccer is an international sport that everybody understands and can play. And over the years, this tournament has grown very large. Has the city reached out to the Desna organization to see what part they want in this? Because they have a lot of connections. They're an amazing organization, and
Yeah,
they're local.
I believe that is the organization that Director Hutton had mentioned during our initial planning meeting as one that we should. Certainly, the Parks and Rec staff had a number of ideas of different organizations to collaborate with during the creation of this event, and to make sure that there is space for and sort of a celebration of all of our local soccer teams and soccer organizations.
They bring hundreds, if not thousands, of people here every August for their tournament. So it would be great for the city to reach out to them and to work with them if
Yep.
possible.
Absolutely.
Jack?
I just have one more question, because this didn't dawn on me until you just said this. This soccer tournament runs for 3 weeks? And
Correct.
we're only talking about doing this one time in 3 weeks?
Yeah, for just the one weekend.
Why aren't we looking at doing 3 of them? If we're going to get a big play on one, wouldn't you get a bigger play on 3? Even it's more money, I get that, but.
Yeah. I think the feeling was that, back to Councilmember Honda's point about, every city is planning all sorts of different events and all this different activation. You have the tribal casinos are all planning big events as well. You have, all of the Seattle Center is going to be activated.
But we have the light rail,
We do.
and we have 700 rooms.
And so I think, part of the discussion that we've been having with the chamber, and that I've also had with the LTAC committee, is exploring the idea of creating some grants that would be small grants, a couple of $1,000s, that would be available to businesses using LTAC funds that they could apply for, so that they could put up tents in their parking lots and get the viewing rights, so that we could have places that hopefully would stay open a little bit later and would be able to cater to people who are coming into the area and staying here, or who are traveling through and driving here to park here to catch the light rail, and then they want to, stop before or after. So we are looking at a number of different activation things. We've talked with the hoteliers about the idea of, including a shuttle that would go around to all of the hotels and would visit a number of different places, shopping and dining places as well, and would go to the light rail and just kind of do a loop every 15 minutes or whatnot. So there are a number of different things that we're working on sort of on other fronts to figure out the activation of that entire time to make sure that we are supporting any people who are coming into the community here and using us as a jumping off point or in the downtime in between. Because there are also, there aren't matches going every single day and certainly not being played in Seattle every single day. So if you have somebody here who's here for a number of matches, there are going to be days where they don't have stuff. And so it's also figuring out what we can point them to, what sorts of amenities.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Kind of hopping on what Councilmember Dovey just mentioned, being it's going to be that many weeks and stuff, I assume, when do the hotels start to see the bookings locking in so that we can actually see what the actual pattern is going to be? Do you know what the guesstimate is?
The local hoteliers, the last time that I'd asked, they hadn't really seen a whole lot yet. But I can certainly ask again, sort of where they're seeing bookings and where they're going to start seeing the energy. For other types of events, say like the Taylor Swift concert or that type of thing, they often don't see the bookings here until about 2 weeks to a month out, where people are, those who really want to be in the middle of the action and want to be in Seattle are booking sooner, and then they book here. So probably realistically a month out or so is when we'll really start seeing that peak there.
Okay. And then what is the time frame, just as a ballpark? Because if we see the peak and, timing it would be phenomenal to obviously draw as much attention, as much traffic as possible.
Mm-hmm.
How much time is needed to get these things in your mind? I know we're guesstimating to an extent to get this set up and done. Is a month, is 2 months, do you need 3, or is it 6 months we need to plan this kind of stuff out?
For this event?
Yeah, so if we, like you said, if we decide that, hey, we got a spike coming not on this week, but the next week or something like that, we want to capitalize on that one too.
Yep.
How much time is necessary in order to maybe ramp it up? I know if it's booked, but.
Right. I'd have to ask probably the PAC staff and the Parks and Rec team. My guess would be a couple of months would be ideal to be able to figure out, whether the PAC is available first and foremost, whether we wanted to do something at Town Center Park instead, looking at some of the other venues in that area.
Okay, let's just wait till the grant's going so we can actually use that against the time. Then.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And I just have one other question, I'm sorry. I look at this graph of who's getting money or grants, and you got Des Moines at 33,400, and you got Milton at 10K. Could we reach out to them and say, hey, you want to throw your money in and we do a big thing and you get a split of it and make Federal Way bigger? Because those guys, who's going to go to Des Moines? What can Des Moines do with 33,000?
Yeah.
What can Milton do with 10K? I mean,
Well,
I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, a number of cities are certainly thinking about using some of these funds for FIFA World Cup events, but there are a lot of cities that are using it for other types of things too. Some of them are using them for economic development strategic plans, or they're using them to fund small business development center types of projects. And so we certainly could ask and see if anybody else wanted to get together and pool some resources and do a larger event. And I think that we certainly could do that irregardless of the grant and whether they're getting grant funding.
Thank you. Should we vote on this?
You're right. Yep.
Go
Good, great discussion. I mean,
I'll make this one then. I move to forward the proposed request to apply for the 2025-26 Port of Seattle Economic Development Partnership Grant to the August 12, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we moving on to item D, Tourism Enhancement Grant Recommendation, Federal Way Public Market Business Plan and Marketing Outreach.
Thank you very much. So the policy question on this item is, should the City of Federal Way approve LTAC's recommendation for the Federal Way Public Market Business Plan and Marketing Outreach? So the background on this, so the Federal Way Public Market applied to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and had a request of $26,000. As you'll see here, the LTAC committee forwarded to you all a suggested funding of $16,500 in 2025 LTAC dollars, which would use up the rest of the available LTAC dollars that is, after the budget adjustment amendment has happened. And then it would be $9,500 in 2026 dollars from LTAC. This was something, the committee had a lot of questions, and we have two people here tonight from the Federal Way Public Market Group who are available to answer any of your questions as well. And I think, it was interesting, one of the committee members said that reading the application, which you each have a copy of in front of you, that they weren't necessarily sure they would have recommended this to move forward, but after learning everything that was happening with the public market and sort of the phase that it was in, that they felt strongly about it. And this was one of the hoteliers, that this would be a great thing for the hotel community, and wanted to move this forward. So here are your options to consider. Option 1, to forward it on to the August 12th, 2025 consent agenda, or option 2, to not forward it and provide direction to staff. And with that, I will open it up to questions.
Thank you. Mr. Dovey?
My only question is, I think we should just do the money one time. Why would you go 25 and 26 and hang somebody for $9,000? I mean, if you're gonna spend the money, you might as well just spend it all at once instead of say, hey, here's a little bit more and make it through next year, and here's a little bit more. I mean, we got money sitting in LTAC that's not being used, the way I hear what you're saying, because we haven't done things. I would recommend, if we're gonna do this, which I think we should, just make it all at once and do it once time and not have to wait till next year to hear it again, personally.
Okay, then I'll let Director Groom.
In order to do that, yeah, we had an adopted budget where we had $500,000 approved in the adopted budget for lodging tax. We have a second amount for $150,000, which brought us up to $650,000, and that's what we're maxing out. And that involves, just a budget
Right.
ordinance
But
hearing?
how much have you not spent?
$1,970,000.
No, I mean, in the budget of 650.
In 2025, we
Yeah.
have 16,500
Okay, you
unobligated.
spent it all? I thought we haven't spent it on some of the contracts or,
It's been obligated with things that you've approved.
It's been allocated, but we haven't spent it, correct?
It hasn't been dispersed, but the budgetary control, you all have approved all the different things
Right.
adding up.
And we've spent we've clicked every one of those off and have committed and got that much value out of the money?
Those are all committed.
They may be, excuse
Some of
me.
the events haven't happened, and they have
Yeah,
to do,
they-
they have to do their post-event report, but we're obligated.
Okay, but we could say, well, we're deciding we're not gonna do the website this year, we'll do it next year or something,
Oh, out of the
out of the 650.
out of the 250,000 tourism marketing, that,
Yeah, I mean, so there is, as I said, about 31,000 of that 250 that we are not moving forward with in the scope for this year. So in theory, there is that.
So it's just a reallocation, it's not a new budget. And that's all I'm suggesting, if we could reallocate something we're not gonna do, just put it all together and make it once and not mess with it again next year.
sure, I'm trying to keep the budget trued up to the commitments that,
Wouldn't that keep it true if you just reallocate, and you wouldn't have to ask for more budget money?
with your approval, yeah.
Because you're just gonna throw it back into LTAC if we don't do it.
Correct. It would just go back into that fund balance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, my first question is actually going to be the commission question. Are commissions allowed to apply for LTAC?
So other city commissions, I would imagine, are able to apply for LTAC because government entities are able to apply. And, it would need to be something that met the RCWs for allowable uses for LTAC. But, if you had a commission that was putting on an event that was a tourism event or might promote tourism, then I would imagine they could. I'll let the city attorney weigh in.
It might be semantics, but no, a commission couldn't directly. Of course, the city can absolutely apply. But, so, yes, the
On
city
behalf
could,
of-
on behalf of a commission, apply for a grant, but no, the
Gotcha.
commissioners can't just do it themselves.
Gotcha. So it's technically eligible for commission via the city. Okay. My next, actually, I'll have to sit down with Director Groom later because I polled the last 3 years of LTAC, and in 2023 we did 5, in 2024 we did 5, and then in 2025-ish 6, we've done 13 different grants. My number is quite a bit higher than the 600 when I added all that up. 550 of that was strictly to the city via either the PAC or the economic development. My concern with this one is, and I've mentioned this before, the public market, I love the idea. I don't think this fits within the scope of what an LTAC is. There's no heads and beds in this one. The marketing is, I don't believe, for the city per se as much as it is for the 501c3. I think there is some potential legal issues with the this application not fitting into what I've seen come through. And I've actually seen a couple fail who I would have thought was a closer tie to it. I agree with Councilmember Dovey. If we go forward with this one, I think the money that's already been allocated to the economic development through one of the LTAC grants should be used to fill the remaining gap on this one. I just don't see this one fitting the LTAC requirements. I understand they marked off marketing, but when I look at what they're purchasing and stuff like that, it is literally canopies, banners, merchandising, handouts. It is to promote their organization, but at the same time, when I flip to the back and I look at heads and beds, which is usually something we use as indicators, there is no heads and beds that will be generated out of this. And since it is not a city-owned building or operation, then I find it hard to slide this one in. So I will actually not be voting for it in this scenario, but I do support us using the economic development funds that are already put aside to clean up that remaining $26,000 though. Thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. So I have some questions. First of all, I just asked you, but I would like to find out when the last audit of LTAC was.
And Director Groom.
Will find out for me,
And
and
my-
what the findings, if any, were.
In my 7 years for working for Washington City, I haven't seen the auditors select the use of lodging tax revenue as part of their audit. It's always possible, but I haven't seen it.
So one of the classes I took at AWC a couple years ago was on LTAC, and they talked about the audit. And our past economic development directors talked about the audit and how we needed to be very careful of how we used LTAC money so that if and when we were audited, that it fell within the scope of what we could use the money for. So I'm sure some city around the state's been audited, and maybe one day we will, maybe we won't. But I want to make sure when we are, that we have used the money absolutely correctly so that we don't get a bad mark from the state and have to potentially pay something back, which is what AWC said to us.
That's true for any of our restricted revenues that the auditors could select. And if they were to question any of the use of any of our restricted revenues, I would be required to write a management response. Then I would look to documentation, which I would start with the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and the packet itself and how it documented how it fit the requirements for the use of lodging tax. And our city attorneys looked at those as well. And it's always the standard by which we measure how we spend our restricted revenue.
Thank you. And so in my mind, because I've been here for a little bit, it's drilled into my mind that you have to be coming from 50 miles away, you have to have heads and beds, and that doesn't apply to this. So I have some concerns, and I realize that it could be different now, but that's still what has been drilled into my head by people here at the City of Federal Way.
Sure. And so I think on the 50 miles away and heads and beds, so there are a couple of different things that RCWs talk about. So one of them is tourism marketing and tourism promotion, and that would be normally the 50 miles away is one of the indicators for it. And then marketing and operations of special events or festivals that are designed to attract tourists. And so that's there. Then you also have operations and capital expenditures of tourism-related facilities that are owned or operated by a municipality. And then you also have operations of tourism-related facilities that are owned or operated by a nonprofit. And so you see a lot of different uses of the funds, but we can certainly, you know, have our city attorney team and whatever else take a look at this one. And certainly, if you'd like, at a future meeting, we can maybe go through some of the types of uses and what other jurisdictions are using their LTAC funds for, and some of the guidance, because that's one of the things that we've been talking about with the LTAC committee, is that there are certain things like, say, a municipally owned golf course, that if it is in a neighborhood area, probably wouldn't really pass muster to be an LTAC funded type of item. But if it's in more of a visitor facing area and the intention is to bring in visitors to use the golf course, that it might be. And so I think there's some gray area certainly with LTAC.
Okay. So on page 6 of the application, and thank you for giving that to us, I just want to correct a date for the salmon bake. And I know you guys know it. It's 7/25, not 7/26. So be there Friday, not Saturday, because we won't be there Saturday. And on page 4, it says, item 7, identify your top 5 sources of revenues anticipated for your event facility marketing program, not including the requested City of Federal Way LTAC funds. And it has Craig McCann, 15,000, additional board members, 5,000, TBD, 13,000. Are those loans that those folks have made to this, and the TBD, the 13,000, where do you anticipate that to come from?
I would ask if,
So, thank you, Cindy Laws. Greg McCann has pledged $15,000, and we are expected to get that at any moment. And the other board members have pledged the additional $5,000, and those are all due by September. I have 2 more grants that are due this week that we are pretty darn certain to get. There is another port grant that we're applying for, and then there is a Fork Culture grant that we're applying for. Fork Culture grant, and then there's additional outreach that I have done to individual major donors. So I foresee that additional funding that I have as TBD is pretty well assured.
And that's a 13,000.
Actually, it'll be probably significantly more, but yes, at least 13,000. I was trying to put the 13,000 to match, to make sure we had that match there.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for
Other
being here too.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, I guess 2 questions. I think I heard my counterpart, Councilmember McDaniel, say that he is okay with this if it was an LTAC fund. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, the way I look at it, I feel like this is stretching the LTAC requirements, but since the economic development's already got LTAC money, I think that would be a better fit for it.
So my question to Mr. Groom is, if we said we wanted to cut this 20, whatever the number is, 27,000 or 26, whatever, to come out of economic development, and then we don't use the LTAC money, is that doable?
Now, if we're talking the $250,000 for tourism marketing that economic development has coming out of lodging tax, that's, again, restricted for lodging tax requirements, and we would
Right.
be subject. If we're looking at unspent ARPA funds, that would be unrestricted that we could use. And I don't have off the top of my head the dollar amount that's available that is unspent in ARPA. Do you have
it's a little over 250,000 in projects.
all of the ARPA projects?
Yes, all of the
Okay.
various ones
So-
that have not been completed or have been terminated.
And that would be an important distinction if you make it, if you do pass it, to make it
Yeah,
a
but if we-
motion. So I have the direction I need on how we're.
So if we have unspent ARPA money, which we gave to them, and we say, let's move it to this market, we can do that.
Absolutely, because I've been giving you a report every month, making sure that we stick to
Okay.
your
Okay.
commitments to the, as a
So-
council.
So if Mr. McDaniel or I make the motion to give this money, but have it come out of the unspent ARPA money that is in community development, we could do that. Can we do that?
Wait, before we do that, can I ask our city attorney to weigh in?
On
On
how
the-
to do that, or?
But
So,
some of the legal concern that raised by,
I haven't looked at this closely as to what the application is. On its face, I don't see how it fits. I agree. I think that it's for an ongoing market. This is not an ongoing market. There's no conceivable way I can think of where someone's going to travel as a result of this money being spent. So I haven't looked at it closely. I don't want to give a definitive answer from the dais, having not done that, but it doesn't pass the smell test for me. That said, if you want to change the source of funding, there's absolutely no problem funding this.
Okay. So if we change the funding tonight, then it's fine.
Yes, and to do that, you can't do it from the committee. You would need to move it to business, and then we could.
What's
change
that?
this Source of funding.
Put it on business, he said.
Put it on
there.
business, and then we
Move
could
to
change the
business.
source of funding at council.
Okay.
Do you mind if I ask a question? So, as a city attorney, this came out of the LTAC committee. They do not ask, I mean, they don't ask the attorneys if this passes, because I was concerned that this didn't pass.
So the attorneys don't staff LTAC, so, you know, and maybe Meredith has a different interpretation of the statute than I do. She's
Okay.
the first line of review for this, and so, you know, maybe we need to get our ducks in order a little better.
So-
But this is the first time I'm looking at this, is today.
All right.
So if I could
you.
add a comment to that, remember when we start, well, none of you were on the council when we did this, so you wouldn't remember. The farmer's market, LTAC put in, I think it was 13,500. That doesn't bring heads and beds for the farmer's market, but that's how we used LTAC, one of the very first things we did at this city.
So Rose said that they had to pay that back.
But they did pay it back.
And it was
They were the
like-
on- They
it
were
was-
the only organization I know of in Federal Way that's ever paid it back.
It was like 20,000.
I was the one who put it together.
Well,
I think it was
she told me
13,500.
20,000, they had to pay it back.
Anyway,
'cause- yeah.
but,
And I can see, it's easier to make an argument for an ongoing
yeah,
operation,
well, they weren't going. That's how we started them.
so same problem.
But, I mean, I guess my last comment is, if we need to put this on city business on the 12th, but that's going to slow down the grant with the port, right? Or does it matter?
It doesn't matter from the port's perspective, as long as there are city funds.
Yeah?
And they had said LTAC could be considered a city fund, so they were okay with that, but they would be equally happy. They don't really care where the match is coming from as long as there is a match.
So, just to add to that, if you do pass, either by consent or put the other item on the business that's already been passed to consent, we are obligated to find that matching source from the general fund. If we use their money,
For the port grant.
for the port grant.
Right.
If we spend it.
If we spend it, yeah.
But we could, again, I got a question clarifying, we could use it out of the ARPA money instead of out of the general fund.
Yes. It's general fund money.
It's general fund now, yeah.
General fund? Okay,
money is general fund money now.
okay,
Yeah.
so that's
Got
right, we
rid of-
paid
So
that
it's
ARPA.
former ARPA money.
Formerly, the money
Are you
formerly
okay
known
with,
as ARPA.
you okay with that?
So actually, one of the items that's on our list of ARPA-related items that's general fund now is business enterprise startups, and that was a 40,000 that we never touched. So there is
Yeah,
a
there's
pocket of money that could be used for that. Yes, I'm okay if that's the way we go.
I would suggest that we just move it to council business at the next meeting and take that approach instead of have anybody have to think that somebody's gonna look at that.
Okay. Mr. Washer, you have a question?
I'm fine. I mean, I was going to do some rationale for, justification of how it could stay with LTAC, but that is fine. It looks like this is a better solution anyway, so.
I do have one follow-up question. It's $77,000, which is, I feel to be a chunk of money. I'm only seeing some pop-ups, some handouts. How would that $77,000 be utilized?
I'm going to let Cindy answer that one.
Thank you. I think it was 77, wasn't it?
So, in the grant request, there was a budget we had to submit somewhere. That we have, where's my budget? So we had to write a whole budget for the, both what this particular grant, the $26,000, as well as a total community and business marketing program, the total business community marketing outreach and marketing was $59,000. The specific part for this included public affairs, community advisory committee outreach. This is the many community advisory committees. We've been going out, making sure, in order to make sure the market gets in the market what the community wants, is why we're doing such aggressive outreach there. It includes a lot of handouts, production of reports. Again, as you all know, our feasibility report is done. We're trying to get it all polished right now so we can go to print with that. Brochures, presentation materials. This would be the presentation materials like when we have a big community meeting, like we had last April of 2025, or 24 rather. So we'll have whiteboards, that kind of stuff, foam core boards, stuff like that people can come up and see. There would be the big public meeting, that community meeting, this large community meeting, like I said, like last year when we did at Dumas Bay, something like that. Event fees, this is again using rental space where we need that rental space. Going to things where we're doing presentations and you have to pay for the entrance to get there. Updating our videos. If you saw our video we presented back in January, we've got to update that now with information that we have now that we didn't have then. A branded canopy and banners, again, for our outreach. Right now, we're just using a plain canopy. We want to have something that's more visually exciting to draw people in. Those are things that would be an investment that will last for years. And then various supplies for the event booth. Continuing with the other stuff that's paid for with the other money that we're raising would be more public affairs, more community advisory committee outreach. Additional community and business outreach program costs include more rental spaces, refreshments for when we do these big events, that type of thing, and more production of reports. We're looking at expanding. A lot of people want printed copies of reports. They don't want it just electronically anymore. They want to. A lot of people still want to see a printed copy. So it's kind of spread the cost across a wide variety of things. In order to get the word out there, we're going out aggressively now and meeting. For example, we've got a meeting in 2 weeks with the Puyallup Tribal Enterprises at their chocolate factory down in Tacoma. We're meeting with people at the hotels to talk about ongoing meetings at the hotels that we'll be having with them in order to engage them, because again, there was 3 members of the LTAC committee that are hoteliers. We want to keep that good communication open. We want to have more regular meetings at hotels and ask them to host a regular meeting, whether it's in their foyer area where they serve their breakfast, say, for example. And we have meetings there where people can come and find us. Since we don't have a space at this time, we want people to be able to, we're here, well, you've seen us at the farmer's market on a regular basis. We want to be able to have regular basis in one of these hotel spots with refreshments and, renting that room there, that kind of thing. So that's what we expect to be doing, to keep people excited about what's going on, where we're at with things, what's going on with our connection with Sound Transit and the location that we all want to be at, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And so the business plan piece, and again, as I mentioned before, the business plan is not just a simple little business plan. This is how we operate, how the market will operate, where the capital cost, where the capital funding will come from, and the little details like how many sinks you have, how many restrooms you have, all that kind of stuff. Much more granular detail as we get the information from Sound Transit, where we've asked for things like what's the elevation of the site, things like that, more detailed drawings. If we have an area where people are able to park food trucks, how are the food trucks going to be able to dump their bilge is all I can think of the word for dump the bilge out of the food trucks, that kind of stuff, where they plug in at, all that type of information. That's the kind of detail that we'll have in the business plan. It's not just a simple, 30-page business plan. It's expected to be a 300-page document. That is going to be, this is how we operate. This is the types of people that would need to be on a board of, I think it is 17 people is what we're calling for, a board of 17 people, which would include people from city government to make sure that the market serves the city and that the city will have a voice in how the market is run long-term. That's the kind of detail that we're going to have in the business plan.
Okay, so you've got 59 for the total. I've got your your beautiful chart right here, 59 for the total delta of 18,000, but it doesn't mention a business plan on here. Will any of this money be used for the business plan then? And
No.
Okay, and then what's the difference for do you plan on using maybe the additional 18,000, this is just an estimate?
It's just an estimate, right? This was part, trying to figure out what do we need to do to get through this. This is basically for the next year for just this component. Just this component. The total business plan cost is about $200,000. And that's the part that I'm, looking right now, writing grants like crazy, trying to fund that type of stuff, hoping to have it from, half a dozen sources.
And so the Port of Seattle grant request would be the business plan side of it. That makes.
Is that a different grant than what we're talking about tonight, or are you talking about tonight?
Well, so the one that you already took action on, the Port of Seattle grant request, so this 51,000 portion of it, if you look back up at this slide, is the business plan portion of it from the Port of Seattle. And then the 26 is the communications plan that she just sort of outlined, the outreach and marketing.
Oh, so it's not, the whole thing is not for the outreach? No. So the LTAC was actually only going after the 26? Okay, now I see what you're saying. Thank you.
Susan, and then
Thank you.
Jack.
Cindy, I hate to have you stand up again, but this is a question for you. Okay, sorry. So is any of this money that you're requesting going towards a salary?
To salary, we don't have any staff, so I'm a consultant. So the part of it is to help where I'm advising on this stuff, part of that will help fund that.
Okay. And secondly, if everything goes together really well, you get the Sound Transit property, you have investors who are going to buy the property, build whatever, when do you think you'll be open?
It really depends on which site we get in. There's a lot of moving parts. People have opinions on which site we should perhaps not go into Site 4, because that Site 4, which is where that's really where we want to be, is Site 4. However, Site 4 being the most contaminated, we have no idea how long it's going to take to do that contamination. There's been suggestion that we start in another spot there and then move over to Site 4 when that's ready. An earlier site we could be in there in as little as 3 years, I expect, 2 to 3 years, depending on how soon permits are granted to whoever wins on TOD Site 1 and 2. And how fast those permits go and the things get built. We could conceivably be in that site somewhere. Again, that's part of the outreach we've been doing to the other people interested in bidding on these sites. There's other places in town we could conceivably go in the meantime to get started. That's been suggested to us in the past, and that's something that we're looking at seeing. That we're pretty excited right now, and we're really thrilled so far when we have met with potential vendors. Like I said, we've got over 60 vendors interested. And just to put that in context, the Pybus market in Wenatchee has 21 of their regular vendors, not including the table vendors. Those are 21 of the permanent vendors. And so the fact that we've got 60 that are interested now is a really good sign of interest. And these are all local small businesses. And and that doesn't include the ones that would be the new startups, which we're really hoping to inspire some startup businesses that are interested and people have an idea for a product and want to think about doing this in our site. And might start with a day table. So we think it's going to be pretty substantial. And that's why we're a lot more interested now in doing something that might be more of in a temporary space than we were, say, a year and a half ago.
Okay, thank you, and I won't make you get up again.
Stay there for 1 second, though.
Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Cindy, how big, you guys have been working on this for a couple years anyway. How big's your mailing list now, and how many people are following and supporting what you're doing?
So on Facebook, our Facebook page has grown, so we now have about 1,200 people on our Facebook page. But the more important thing there is that the Friends of Federal Way Facebook page regularly shares our posts onto their page, which is more than 10,000 people. So we're really relying a lot on those. Likewise, our email list is still pretty small. It's still only about it's around 500 people on our email lists. But then people are forwarding those. We're finding that we're getting a lot of forwards from those and people wanting us to keep on the list. List is anybody that's ever worked on a political campaign or worked with a nonprofit. Growing your own list and your base is always really critical. Working with some of our legislators where they have forwarded our stuff, when we've sent our email things, they have forwarded that to their own email groups, which is pretty darn exciting when they are. And as you've seen before, they have mentioned us in their mailings about what they've done legislatively. So we're definitely making that huge expansion that this has all taken place in just since April of last year. Just this enormous growth that we've had in that time frame. And the big part of the reason for this grant is to do this. We do need to expand that outreach massively. We need to grow exponentially in our reach in the community, and that's why we've done things like, getting our little cards to hand out, getting stickers people can put on their things so that they can see this and start asking the questions, and that's why we're getting so much interest from potential vendors and other people that have an idea. This is, again, getting to the part we want to inspire new businesses. They got an idea for a product. They got an idea to see, what would it cost me to have a table in there, and what kind of requirements would they have? And this is why, I was asking questions about business licenses a couple of weeks ago, in part because it's like, well, how much would a business license cost? Would they have to have a business license if they're just doing a day table? Those are the kind of things that are popping up as we're doing outreach, and so that's why we're going to continue a lot more of that. Thanks for that good question.
And then my last question is, with the TOD bids coming up for number 1 and 2, are you going to those bidders and talking about building in the community market into their ground floor as a start? Or are you waiting for the city council to talk to people and say, hey, we're behind this, we want you to put this into your TOD bid? Or where's that all falling out?
I think the answer is yes to all. Yes to all. We're both reaching out. We've reached out in the past. We reached out to, when we met with El Centro back in April, and we spent 2.5 hours meeting with El Centro with their top 3 people there. And one of the things we talked about was, we knew that they were bidding on Site 1 and 2 with Mercy Housing, which they've been very successful in building with Mercy Housing and other projects around the Seattle area. And so that we talked about what they were going to be doing and how we could work together. And we talked about when we get our full market, our full big thing that we want to have, the 2-story, 50 to 60,000 square foot place, that they would have an outlet inside of our market with their Mercado. So we're talking about those kind of collaborations. We're looking at other developers, seeing who's seriously interested, who's applied, who's in the process of asking all the questions, in the TOD site for Sound Transit. Anybody that asks a question, they're all posted publicly, so you can see there's people that are registered, like myself, that I'm not going to be at a building, but there's a lot of people that are registered, several dozen people that are registered, and we're just getting information. I'm not sure yet how many people are serious bidders, but it's doing that outreach right now. And then, yes, if the city was to say the city's going to bid on one of these, the city's going to bid on TOD 1 or 2, the city would have control over the project. We'd like that the best.
Have we put our name in as bidders at all, or has anything happened from the city level? Ryan?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
No, that would require council approval. Nothing's been presented.
Okay, so that hasn't gone to any committee or had any discussion that I know of, right? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Paul, did you have?
You can talk all night.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to check in with Jack and Paul here. It's looked like the committee members want to move this item to the business agenda. So I'm going to try to make the motion here.
And I'll just comment, Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I would vote on it tonight to just do it, but since there's question about LTAC, and
Yeah.
it sounds to me that everybody would do it on the business agenda, from what I'm hearing, I'd rather just move it to business agenda so everybody can say yes.
Yeah, I feel comfortable that way too. Okay, so I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for the Federal Way Public Market Business Plan and Marketing Outreach to the August 12, 2025 Business Agenda and to use ARPA? No?
Just moving it to.
Just move into business? Okay, cool. It's easier then. I move to forward the proposed tourism enhancement grant recommendation for the Federal Way Public Market Business Plan and Marketing Outreach to the August 12, 2025 business agenda for approval.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, go
I'll
ahead.
second it first, and then you can,
Go ahead. So Ryan, does that mean that, I think, does that mean that when we just move it, you have the option of using general fund or ARPA funds?
Correct. Nothing's
Yeah.
been decided at this point, so that discussion would happen with the full body.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was great discussion there. We are now moving on to item E, AP voucher 6125, 63025, and payroll voucher 60125, 63025. Mr.
Thank
Groom.
you. Thank you, Chair. I believe that the materials in your packet are fairly self-explanatory, as they always are. And I have probably the same two slides that I showed to try to add a little bit more color to it. The June totals for our spending through accounts payable is 6.9 million, but that is unusually high because ever since we started construction on the maintenance shop, our M&O facility construction has really made our spending look unusually large, and it is. The two checks that we issued to Corping Construction on the construction of the facility were 2.7 million alone. So that's why we are seeing the high elevated numbers for AP spending that we didn't used to see. And as usual, every 3 months, we have payroll vouchers that are up a little bit because of quarterly payroll taxes. And when I look at our cash balances, we are beginning to return slowly but surely to the cash balance levels that we used to have before ARPA and before we issued the bond for the construction of the maintenance facility. In the month of June, as I mentioned, we spent 2.8 million on the maintenance facility, which means so far, just on the maintenance facility alone, we have spent 24.7, if you will, leaving still unspent about $30 million unspent, and that's the red bars that we're showing. I kind of wish I had given the ARPA funds the same treatment, but we still have about $4 million above levels that we usually have, but slowly but surely, we're going to return to the same cash levels that we used to have. So that's the extra information I have. In addition to the detail voucher register, which is in your packet, Councilmember Honda sends us questions every month. My staff is always prepared to either research and find the answers or contact other departments so we can get your answers and make sure that what we're doing is understandable, it's within the budget, and that other departments are managing their detail. I'm open
Thank you
for
very
questions.
much. Thank you very much.
It's
I appreciate it.
what we do.
The only one I have, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The only question I have is I noticed the jail costs were about 600, and when I looked into it, about 10% of it is going to medical services for the jail. I'd be curious to know if we're staying consistent with that much going into mental health and medical for the jails. And are we going to be within our budget amount if we continue to have that?
I actually looked into this exact thing. I did a trend for this year's accumulated spending compared to last year's, and we're trailing last year's spending just a little bit. I've had a conversation with PD and the command staff. They are looking at it to look at the forecast also. As to how much is within medical and mental health, I'm not positive. I was looking at just total. Would you like me to pursue that and find out?
I'm just curious, because that was something that I was shocked that adds up, and it adds up really quickly. And after adding $2 million to the fund, I'm wondering how much of that is going to go straight to medical and mental health.
I'm happy to do that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure, yes.
Any other questions? All right, can I have a motion, please?
I'll get this one. I move to forward the vouchers to the August 12, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. And we have the last item, item F, monthly financial report for June 2025.
Thank you, Chair. I actually have a couple interesting things there in your packet. They might be buried, but as always, well, let's see, how do I get rid of that? Golly. There we go. Our sales tax revenue, you know, the red line that shows the accumulated sales tax revenue as it moves forward through the year, it is so close to both budget and prior year, it's really difficult to tell. But if I can point out that we are still unfavorable to budget, 285,000 or 3.5%, but compared to prior year, we have improved. We look at this every single month. We I'm not going to say we sweat over it or we stress over it, but we are looking at this and we're having discussions with the mayor, the city administrator, various department heads. We are 0.1% under prior year, and that's an improvement. Past months, I think you recall, we were 4% down. And the reason that that number sticks in my mind is because where is inflation? For 25 months, we have had inflation that just will not get down to where the Federal Reserve wants to get it. They want to get it down below 2%. This last month, it popped up a touch. They're saying it's 2.7%. This is national figures. And regional figures that they come out with every other month. This month, again, it popped up. 2 months ago, they had said we were below 2%, and then it popped up. So it just is just a stubborn figure. Now, if we believe that inflation is 4%, if volume in our city was the same as last year, we would see 4% more sales tax revenue, but we're not. So we're still not quite up to the volume that we had last year. We have been seeing, I know that you all drive around town and you've seen Rite Aid and Safeway and other things. I do too. I drove past the store that has taken the place of Rite Aid up here at 320th and Pack Highway. I don't know how to pronounce it, TESO. Their parking lot was packed. I was encouraged. So we are watching sales tax. It is just really, really close to prior year. It's still missing budget, and we are watching. And so that plays into how we manage the city and course correct. Our unrestricted utility tax revenue. This month, it's just a touch unfavorable to budget. In past months, it was quite positive, but if you recall, we brought a budget amendment where we elevated our budget for this utility tax revenue so that we could pay for our collective bargaining agreement costs. So this one, it's kind of tracking right to budget. It's just a little under this month. Our property tax revenue, I track it, but at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we always collect exactly what we levy within a few thousand. So I'm just monitoring it to make sure that it is on track. Now, here's the big news that I have for you. Real estate excise tax had a real nice jump this month. Normally, our remittance is around $300,000, and this month we had around $6,000. There was a $20 million property that sold. It was a commercial residential management property just north of Lakota Park. And so you can see in that graph down on the right, it bumped up quite a bit. Another way to look at it is when I compare each month to the same month in prior years, and you can see that we had a spike in June. Have we had spikes in previous years? Yes, we have. We've had one in 22, we had one in 2021. You can never predict which month they're going to show up, but again, this is before the Fed has reduced interest rates, so they didn't wait for the interest rates to change. So we did have a nice favorable increase to real estate excise tax this month. I find that encouraging, and that has to do with how we manage the timing of our infrastructure projects in parks and public works. Year to date, you can see that we have improved over the prior year nicely. That just gives us the same graph again. Our permit fees revenue, it's a touch unfavorable to budget, but it is right on prior year. And again, this has to do with you never can tell which months we're going to have large permits. So we, again, watch this. This is one of the scale on this graph is $5 million, so we watch it every month. Interest revenue, it's a little bit unfavorable. It's a little bit under prior year. It has to do with the amount of cash that we've been spending at the beginning of the year. So this is a component of the total. And then lodging tax, is slightly favorable. It's not going to add a whole lot to our $2 million fund balance, but it is favorable. And it's an indicator of the local economy. So in summary, our REIT, it's up 40% over prior year. Now, we have to remember that the prior year was a really bad year. We're still not quite up to budget. But we've got some positives. I can point to 5 different revenues, funding streams that are positive. I've got 2 that are flat. And then our interest, our investment interest, it's down a little bit, and our cash balance is going to be returning to pre-ARPA, pre-debt over the next few months. I wasn't sure what to title this slide. What are we doing about it as we look towards the rest of the year? All departments manage to their budget. We gave everybody an adopted budget. We amend it from time to time. We depend on all departments managing to their budget, and the reason that's important is because I generally, in finance, get invoices that trail a month or 2 behind. You've seen that our revenues come in a month or 2 on a lag from the actual point of transactions out in the real world. So we do watch revenue closely. We're being vigilant for surprises. We can't predict surprises, and you know that in past years, we have come to you, and what do? We juggle, and we have to come up with a plan A, or a plan B, or a plan C. We do have a waiting list. We always have open to capture new needs, and we're always mindful of making sure that we want to try to catch up on some of our existing obligations that are on that pesky wait list. That's what I have for my report. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Paul?
Yeah, could you flip back to the first sales slide?
The first sales tax?
Yeah, the first one, sales tax.
Yeah, how many things do I back up? Is that the quickest way to go?
Yeah, I didn't want to stop you halfway.
There we
next
go.
time. All right, so your sales tax right now is 285. The packet I has, is that year-to-date maybe then? Sales tax unfavorable, oh, it's year-to-date. Okay, I was looking at year-to-date. Is this year-to-date, the 285?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
mine has 450.
I will scrutinize that and send you an email and
Okay.
either tell you I'm right or you're right, or,
That was the first one. The second question I have is, of all the revenue funds that we currently have, or revenue streams we currently have, are any of them favorable? Year-to-date?
yes. Year-to-date,
Yes.
favorable to budget?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. See that slide that well, these big ones that I just whipped through. Property tax says unfavorable, but I don't expect that to be unfavorable. for
So
the
that would be
rest of the year.
probably flat, yeah.
Yeah, okay, they're all unfavorable to budget.
Okay.
Yes, I
And
will
then
concede the point.
Understood. And then the other one, if we were to take out that one cell for REIT, what would that number look like?
We were running 30% down to budget, now we're 10% down to budget.
That's a big number.
A dollar amount,
Well, I'm just looking like, because if, like you said, a big spike right there, but if the big spike and now we're sitting at not quite 2 million, a little bit shy of 2 million, if that was a big spike, I'm curious to know how much does that one piece of property actually generated to make that spike? If it's, I'm just curious to know how that would actually look if you took that one cell out of the picture.
I believe it was a $300,000 transaction. I'm thinking 1% on 21 million-ish.
Okay. And then the interest, so this is a conversation I was having with someone earlier. So interest is down because we're not buying as many treasuries? Is 'cause we-
No, it's our cash balance is lower than we forecasted because we spent higher dollar amounts during the first of the year.
So we just, got you. We spent the money that we were saving up
Yeah,
to pay
yeah.
off bills.
Rates have stayed higher than we forecasted also, but the net is a negative.
What is the, like we had mentioned I think in the last meeting, there is no way to get back to that budgeted amount because you cannot put money in that doesn't exist to get the interest that's already passed.
Right, all of our money is invested one way or another. We have about 20 million that's earning 4.3% at the state treasurer, and that's our liquidity.
Gotcha. I'd be curious to know also is, I know we're at year-to-date for total revenues and transfer ins. I'd be curious to know what that would be comparable to last year-to-date, if it were within the same spectrum. And then if you could go one more time to the last slide you had, which showed the increases to year-over-year. Right.
Yes.
So REIT's the big jump, but that's probably that actual two sales. We have two big sales this year, right? One was down in Twin Lakes.
Right,
area.
that was December of last year.
Oh, it was December. Okay, I thought that was the other pump that we had.
Good memory, that was the
Yeah.
previous year.
Utility tax is up, lodging tax is up, and then everything else is pretty much either flat or down.
Yeah.
Inflation is sitting at what % right now?
I think we called it 3 or 4%.
You said-
2.7, I think is what the regional,
Okay, right there, never mind. So, all right, thanks.
yeah. We look at what we know to be true about our town and we say, what do we think the rest of the year is? We are still looking at how to manage our expenses and.
I guess I have one final question. At what point do we wait a couple more months before we look at budgets and determine what needs to maybe really be adjusted?
I come to you approximately quarterly, and we talk about the forecast and how we can amend the budget in response to things that we need, or things that are on the waiting list that are waiting to green light, or do we need to course correct downward?
When's that next one?
I don't have a calendar, well,
September?
I would expect September FedRAC.
All right, thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. On the utility rebate program, your paragraph says that the 2025 rebate program has been posted to the city website and information material has been given out. Didn't that close at the end of May?
It did close. I need to change that paragraph.
Okay, and how many folks did we serve this year?
We have the number in the report, how many we served.
It doesn't say 25, it says 27 and 24.
Oh, I apologize.
Something I
Yes,
always
yeah,
look
we
at.
absolutely know that, yes.
Okay.
I'll get that to you.
Okay, thank you. And I know you and I have talked several times about revamping the program. Are you still working on that?
It's on my list.
Can I help you with that? I
I'm
mean,
sorry?
Can I help you? I've been trying to do this for
Oh.
several years now, so.
Yeah, the water and sewer figures are the only ones I've accomplished. I
Right.
still have to do the other ones, yeah.
Okay,
And
because
it's a matter
those
of-
are so high compared to what they
Yes.
were when we revamped the program last time.
Yes.
My other question is on the farmer's market. We are now in month May, June, July, almost August, so we've been doing this for 3 months.
We've had 11 weeks. I've been looking at it every week.
Is council going to get a report on how well we're doing, if we're breaking even, how things are going there?
I will coordinate with, I think Bill Vadino is doing the operations, and we have the numbers. Our numbers are a little bit behind. I mean, it takes us time to close the books on it, but yeah.
How many staff did we hire just for the market?
I believe that's just 2 part-time staff members that work Saturdays, and then some of the administrative stuff during the week.
Just 2?
I'm sorry?
Just 2 that we pay? for-
Just 2, yes. And then existing staff that, in finance and IT and legal for the follow-through every week.
So we pay Carla,
And
Vicky, and then
That,
those are the only 2 we don't
that's the only
have?
2 farmers market employees that I'm aware of.
Okay, I thought we
I
had
think
more
there's a
there.
I think there's a donut cooker.
And I thought we had parks people who spent the day there making sure things were
I
done
think
right.
that donut, there are parks employees which, we haven't changed their salaries. They are still paid out of parks. Just as finance and IT
Okay.
just are still paid out.
Those are things I'd like to know. I've been on the farmer's market board for many, many years. I know how it runs, and
Yep.
I'm very interested in how it's running now, and since the city is now running it. so.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of support staff across City Hall that does work during the week.
And then my next question on the farmer's market is, the senior commission recently voted to have a coupon for seniors. And when I talked with Vicky and Carla last week, it hadn't started yet. Do you know when that will start?
I don't.
We had-
I'm kind of the scorekeeper.
Okay.
But I can ask Bill to,
I understand Bill's ready to go, but there is a holdup somewhere else. But as soon as we can get that going, the current coupons were out at 10 o'clock last Saturday. And They were increased because Steel Lake Presbyterian has put money into the program. But the city money that the senior commission put into the program, we'd really like to get there on Saturday so that we can keep serving the seniors.
Yeah, finance is involved a fair amount on Mondays when we prepare the deposit and the check requests to the vendors that need reimbursement, and we do some of the reporting, and we help them count the vendor bags. But as far as the operations, I'll forward that to Bill.
Yeah, it would be great if we could get those coupons there this Saturday. Thank you.
Mr. Dovey?
Yeah, I have two questions. I want to follow up on a question Councilmember Honda brought up regarding the Target property. Now, I know that they have, until 2027 to break ground, or whatever the contract says, and they've never, to my knowledge, made any payments to the city, is that correct? I mean, we don't have an escrow account, or they haven't paid for the land, or no financial transaction has ever occurred, has it?
That's correct. The city still has an interfund loan that we extinguished, and we are waiting for the sale of that property to extinguish.
Okay, so
And that has not happened yet.
that has not happened,
Keith
and
Niven has been talking to Trent regularly.
Yeah.
Because and I've connected with him just to
so my question is, how would that affect the budget? I mean, we paid off the interfund loan, we're expecting, I think they bought it for 10 million or whatever the number was. Then would that, if they did something in '26, that money then would be available for the general budget, or does it go to an interloan?
Well, it
Or
would-
how will that affect things?
We would come to you and discuss it, and remember, that's inside a tax increment area, so we're
Yeah.
gonna make it complicated, because the city has an obligation to do some kind of infrastructure inside the tax increment area possibly, and that would be where the money might come from.
Okay. And then, this is just a nit question, and I'm going to ask it anyway. Councilmember Honda just talked about the senior commission deciding to give money to the farmer's market to give out coupons. Do they have the authority to do that?
No. That's part of the problem. It's probably, I think Bill asked my assistant city attorney something along those lines and
Yeah.
probably didn't like the answer.
So-
So that, I think the jam is probably in my department, but I haven't heard specifics.
So the question, I mean, it's just a nit, it's a small amount of money, but the approval to give senior money that we gave to the senior council for them to make the decision to give it to people has to come from the council to make it
Or-
work, correct?
Or the mayor if it's under 20,000.
Or the mayor could say yes?
The bigger issue, I think, is, it sounds like there's no mechanism to screen for the poor and infirm, which is the litmus test for whether or not it's a gift of public funds. So I don't know how much money we're talking about,
It's got to be small numbers,
but
I'm sure.
we can't just give money to someone because they're old. It's got to be because they're either infirm or poor.
Okay.
We had asked,
I mean, I'm not personally opposed to doing it, I just want to make sure we follow the protocol, so,
Well, I didn't want to jump in because I don't have all the facts.
okay, got it, thank you.
we had asked city staff, I hadn't, but I know Amy had, if this was appropriate to do, and she was told yes. So whoever told her yes should not have told her yes then.
Yeah, anyway, maybe we should back up and get it done right.
Yeah,
so
I
we
didn't
can
want to
do it.
speculate. I have a feeling there's more to the story than I know.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Wash, and then Council President.
A question that I've asked you a number of times in the past, but now that it's been in business for a little while, are we getting any sales tax revenue from Popeye Kenmore?
I don't know. I knew you were going to ask me that, and I don't know the answer. Let me renew with enthusiasm to find out, and I'll get back, and I will find out.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Because I have been asking myself, and I haven't gotten the answer. It's not because we ignored the question.
Sure.
Sales tax information comes in on a 2-month lag, and I can't remember when they opened. I don't know. I apologize. Well, you are engaged and hold me accountable.
It was like my third day here. It was about 2 months ago.
There we go.
Jack, maybe you should send him an email so that it's a reminder to him.
If you weren't so shy.
All right, Council President?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'd be interested in the Pepe Kenworth, but that should be interesting. And are we still giving out WIC coupons? Do you know? Susan, for the
The what?
farmer's market?
The what?
WIC, Women, Infant, and Children's coupon?
I believe they have those. I know that they have different coupons for different folks there.
Yeah, I just want to remind them that, they used to do that. I'm hoping that they still do.
I can confirm that I have seen it on the vendor checkout forms. Now, that doesn't flow through the city. I think it's just noted as part of their sales, but I have seen WIC mention it,
Yeah.
that vendors are reporting it as part of their business.
Yeah.
And there's some
thank you.
kind of a senior farmer's market $80 coupon that is not just for this farmer's market, but for all of them.
Yeah, they can receive them anywhere and then use them
Right.
here and then vice versa.
Right, yeah. This is just reminding me, not that this is part of the discussion tonight, but I do know that under the Human Services Commission, we took the money that was to be allocated for people with special needs or low-income folks to work on their homes, like a roof, or, we haven't had a report on that. I know it got transferred over through Habitat for Humanity, and I know that somebody was applying for a grant through Human Services, but it had to go through Habitat for Humanity, which then was kind of a bottleneck. I'm just wondering how that's working out.
I think I'm going to refer that question to Keith Niven
Yeah,
to
would you
follow
ask?
up on. Yeah,
Just
I
curious.
appreciate that you think finance can come up with a lot of answers. I appreciate your faith in me, but I don't know that one.
But if
But I
you
know who
wouldn't
to,
mind
I know
passing
who to
that
ask,
through.
sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. This is a follow-up question from Councilmember Dovey. On the interfund loan for the old Target property,
Yes,
I believe you told me a few months ago that's due this fall.
yes.
And how much is it?
I believe it's $4.8 million, and this November would be 3 years, and if we don't extinguish it, we need to have a pretty good game plan, and that's why I've been talking to Keith Niven about his conversations with Trent. It still looks like that may move forward, and it may be, I don't think we're gonna hit the 3 years, but I think it may be close, and that may be reasonable.
So we're allowed to keep it for longer than 3 years?
I don't believe there's a state statute, I don't think there's an RCW, I think it's a guideline that the state auditor follows. And I want to stay on the state auditor's good side and have good documentation on why we think that we're showing on our books what we have.
Because in December, isn't the first payment on the bond for the maintenance yard due?
Yes,
Which is how much? 3 million?
it's quite a bit, but that's within our adopted budget, and so
Well, right, but-
Yeah,
We have to have the money in the budget to pay it.
right. It is substantial, so it is north of 3 million, you're right.
So we can, if we don't have any money on the Target property, we can keep the interfund loan longer than November.
The two are completely unrelated. The Target property is inside the tax increment area, the maintenance
Right,
facility.
no, I
Yeah, yeah.
realize that, yeah.
Yeah, the funding for the debt on the maintenance facility comes from REIT, which we pay first before we do projects.
Right, but for the interfund loan, which I understand is completely separate, due in November, if we don't have the money available, we can keep it longer than 3 years.
We would have to, or have a plan to pay it down somehow, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, see no other questions?
I move to forward the June 2025 monthly financial report to the August 12th, 2025 consent agenda for approval.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This matter passed 3-0. Thank you. As a reminder, there won't be FedRAC meetings in the month of August. So our next meeting going to be on September 23rd at 5 p.m. in this room. Have a good summer. Thank you, everybody. This meeting is now adjourned.
It's almost over.
I was told it was over.